Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar Podcast. Excited for today's episode. We have the lead innovator of Respana. And what he does is he helps businesses improve their Google rank and get organic traffic to their website using a software tool called Respana. Excited to be rocking out today with Farzad Rashidi. Hey, are you ready to rock?
Yes, sir. Let's roll.
Perfect. Let's roll. Exactly. Rock and roll. All right. We start off on a good note here. So tell me a story of success in your business that we can be inspired by.
Sure thing. So I would say the story of how we ended up with Respana was quite an interesting story because I started my career in marketing as a first marketing hire at Visme. Have you heard of Visme before, Tim?
Visme. Yes, I have heard of Visme before. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So for folks who haven't heard of us, it's a brand content creation platform for businesses. So basically you can create any sort of infographics, presentations, etc. Somewhat similar to Canva, but we cater mainly to businesses, SMB and enterprise. But when I joined the company, we basically were a completely bootstrap startup with very limited funds. And we had to very quickly figure out a way to bring in a flow of customers consistently over time to our platform without having to spend a ton of cash and paid advertising or cold average because our price point was very affordable. So it wouldn't make much sense to hire salespeople and go out and start selling. So what we started to do was basically focus a ton on our SEO. So we started building the right website, started producing content. And it was crickets. There's absolutely no one coming to our website. And what we decided to do was to focus and allocate our resources differently. So we right now spend 80% of our resources on content promotion and link building. And that sort of led to the creation of Respana, which now is a standalone product because we were like, guys, this is awesome. If you can help us, I'm sure you can help a ton of other people. So we basically released our secret sauce internal software that we built that helped us kind of increase our organic traffic from Google. And that's sort of how we ended up with Respana.
Wow, that's a really cool story. So you solved your own problem and then offered it to the market.
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
Precisely. Mm-hmm.
Well, not everything is sunshine and rainbows. So we like to talk about the bad note as well. So along that journey, was there some mistakes? Was there some things that didn't go as planned that we can learn from?
Oh, so many. I can't count them on my head. But I would say one of the most recent ones was when we had built the MVP version of Respana at the beginning, which was sort of the initial version that we were like, hey, we build this for ourselves, but are other people willing to pay for it? So we basically released a very beta version, and it just blew up, and we basically got bombarded by customers, people who wanted to use it, which was great. So what we decided to do was to, because as a software company, it's kind of like building a Lego. So you can't build on top of a software that doesn't have a good foundation. So what we started to do was to basically build the software from scratch that was ready to scale. And we took some time to build that 1.0 version, which we have today. And the 1.0 version is basically a very scalable modular format of Respana that's built for years to come. But the transition period was a nightmare. And what happened was last year when we actually released our software, we had to migrate all of our existing customers into the new version. And I believe we hadn't, in retrospect, we hadn't put enough time in testing of the new version because it was completely done from scratch. So it caused a lot of upset customers because we had an 8-hour downtime, and obviously the new version wasn't quite as clean as the other one because it was a brand new software that we had put out because completely new infrastructure. So for about a month there, we were on our toes 24/7 working. But thankfully, over time, obviously, the software is kick-ass now, and it's great. But at the time, it was quite stressful for the whole team.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, so how did you recover? There must have been PR nightmares. What did you do? How did you smooth things over?
Sure. So the good thing is that we were in beta. So the customers that had signed up to our platform knew at the beginning, hey, these guys are in beta. So there was quite an expectation that, hey, at some point, we're going to have to migrate to the solid version. And so they kind of sort of were understanding of the transition. And thankfully we didn't hit as big of a PR crisis as we thought. Again, it is a little bigger in our heads than maybe are in our customers' mind. But at the same time, I would say transparency was a big deal. So we basically were very upfront with our customers. We're like, hey guys, we are ripping this Band-Aid off. It's gonna hurt for everybody, but we can get through this, and we're doing our best to get this in shape and keep things stable. And we did. And it was kind of that aspect. And yes, I mean, we lost a few customers, but the majority, I would say 99.5% stayed. So yeah, I think it's kind of a testament to our customer base and how loyal they are. But at the same time, I would say it was quite stressful for us because it was kind of embarrassing when they put their trust in you. Obviously, you want to make sure you provide the best experience.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said from what you said about the transparency and making sure that they understood that it was a beta program, because I think that might be like a stumbling block for some people where they want to seem more professional and more polished than maybe they are, especially when you're getting started. Mm-hmm. But I mean, this is a great example of what would happen. Like what would have happened, I guess, if you had not said that we were in beta, if you were just kind of like pretending like this was then you probably would have lost a lot more of those clients, right? Mm-hmm.
So yeah, exactly.
So I think it's important.
Yeah. And then also, keeping that in mind that, hey, it's a one-time thing. Once we release this and it's stable, which it is now, it's never going to happen again. This is where we're transitioning from beta to 1.0. So it's kind of bound to be a disaster for any product. Now, the amount of time, it was longer than we expected and hoped for, but obviously, and it is what it is. We can't do magic. So at some point, you're going to have to, do your best and move on.
Yeah. And be transparent. I think that's the most important thing here. Now, okay. So you mentioned when you initially put the product out there, you had a lot of bites, and I'm wondering, like, we talk about fans here. So how did you get so much interest so quickly? What did you do?
That is a great question. So at the very beginning, what we started to do was I actually had written a piece of content, an ebook that folks can download it for free right now. It's called Visme Marketing Playbook. And if you go and just look up Visme Marketing Strategy on Google, you can download that ebook. And it was basically a step-by-step playbook into our SEO strategy at Visme that's now getting over 2.5 million in monthly organic traffic. And we're getting about 20 to 25,000 new users to our platform without relying on paid ads or cold out. So basically, we're getting that for free, quote unquote. So I explained transparently exactly step by step what we did. And that was a big hit. And I think we got like 10,000 downloads the first 2 weeks we went live. And we had some partnerships with some other companies that also promoted it. And basically that list of people that had downloaded the ebook was the initial touch point that we were like, hey guys, you guys downloaded our ebook. Guess what? The software we use to implement all these strategies called Respana. We just released it to the public. If you want to check it out, come check it out. So we obviously brought in a good amount of people, but at the same time, it wasn't a scalable, obviously, strategy. So what we started doing from day one at Respana was to actually work on our blog, start building eating our own dog food, basically, to start producing specific pieces of content that we wanted to rank for and using our own product to actually start building backlinks. So right now, Respana is fully an inbound company. We're getting close to about 100,000 people to our website every month. And we started our website about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. So that basically is also a testament that the product works. So at the same time now, we don't have to rely on paid advertising to get customers.
Wow. Great. Wow. That's a great story. It reminded me of a quote that I heard a long time ago. The best time to build your network is before you need it.
That's right.
So I know that, maybe if you're listening to this and you've already got your business started, well, it's too late to build your network like at this point, but
never too late.
Well, I mean, it's too late to build it before you need it, because now you need it. But I mean, if you are listening to this and you haven't started your business yet, now would be a good time to start building that network as you're developing your product or your services. Because like you say, I mean, you had, and I guess the other big thing about that is that when you were putting that whatever document out there, that was free, right? That was free information.
That's right.
And I mean, I'm hearing this all over the place nowadays. There's just so much out there that you've got to get people interested in you, and you're probably not going to do it with a paid product. So why not put some free information out there that shows that you're a professional, that you know what you're talking about, and then you can start to convert from there, right?
Exactly. And I mean, that's also the basis for SEO, is that you're putting together ungated, free information that's educational, that your target customers are actively looking for. And basically through that content, you have a gateway to communicating with these potential customers and build trust and credibility over time, and they will convert to whatever product or service that you're selling if they're actually valuable to the target market, right? So you can't do good marketing for a product or service that's not good. It doesn't matter how good of a marketer you are, right? If you actually have something of value that people are willing to pay for, that basically would be a great way to put in free educational information out there is the best way to get customers. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. And I mean, also the other big benefit is that you learn so much from actually putting that information out there in the first place. Because, it requires a little bit of research. It requires you to get whatever's in your head out of your head and onto a piece of paper, right? So, that you grow as you're putting that free content out there as well, right?
Right. Yes, but there's quite a lot of mistakes that people make along the way. And that is, they sometimes mistake the content that they put on a website as content that they would put on social media, or something that people are actively, and they basically write about things that people aren't actively searching for. A lot of people think that people just come onto their website and automatically open their blog, start reading their content. It just never happens. It's backwards. Normally people come onto your blog as the gateway, and then they basically read through the rest of your website. So keeping that in mind, there's got to be quite a lot of strategy involved in terms of what you write about in the first place, to make sure that you prioritize the certain keywords and also the topics that your target customers are actively searching for, and then kind of moving down the funnel from there.
I love it. I love how you just explained that. That's great, because you're right. I mean, when people get to your website, they're probably not hitting your landing page at first, right? It's funny that they call it a landing page because
that's right.
Because they're coming in through your content, and then once they get there, then they're going like, "Who is this person?" And they might click something else, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a good way to think about how you're building your website as well, to make sure that those links are easy to find from the blog as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not so much also about them navigating. It's normally best to once they hit your blog, they probably aren't ready to purchase. So there's 3 steps in the buyer journey, right? So the first step, they're in the awareness stage, and that's where normally your blog articles are at. So people that are looking for informing themselves about a particular problem they're trying to resolve. And then that point, you want to move into the consideration stage, where you want to hit them with the gated content. That's where it basically like, okay, we can provide more value. It's like, for example, download our ebook, or opt into our newsletter or whatever. And that's where you sort of get that content info, again, keeping the commitment low. And then from there, you want to nurture them down to the decision stage, where, okay, now you have this problem. We educated you. You download our guide. We build a relationship. Now, hey, we also offer this product or service that actually helps you do this and that. And a tiny portion of those people would be interested. But once you get some volume, now things become a lot more easy, or I would say easier in a way, that you can sort of build this machine that automatically brings you a certain flow of traffic, then that you will nurture down the funnel.
Beautiful. So I feel like we should be talking about instruments and tools.
Sure.
Because you have a tool, but what other tools do you use to get success in your business?
Absolutely. So actually, I wouldn't recommend people signing for Responder straight away if you're just starting out. Responder is a platform that you can pretty much do a lot of the things that it does manually, but it's just very painful and time consuming. So my recommendation is to always start doing things manually up to a certain degree where it's very difficult to scale and do over time. So then it becomes almost a no-brainer at that point to start signing up for tools that kind of help you automate a lot of things, Responder included. So I would say the first things you want to do is, first of all, start with a clean slate. So a lot of people I just see so much bad practice in the SEO game where people are just slapping content on their website. Go ahead and delete all of this. Go take a look. If something doesn't have any backlinks, doesn't get any traffic over the past 6 months, delete them. You don't need them. You have wasted your time and resources. Just accept it and move on. All right. So with a clean slate, now you want to do things right from the ground up. So first step is actually start with some keyword research. And I talk about all these steps, by the way, through the ebook that I wrote. So you just go download BizMe Marketing Strategy. I kind of go step by step through all these processes. It's kind of difficult to explain that kind of stuff through a podcast because I can't just share my screen and kind of show you. But anyway, just to kind of keep things to the basics. So you want to start with some proper keyword research. And I explain how you can find keywords that your customers are actively searching for. So it gets a certain amount of clicks and volume. But at the same time, it's not super highly competitive. So you want to prioritize keywords that are low in competition, that are underserved. And at the same time, they actually have and bear some sort of commercial value for your business. So that sweet spot is in the middle. This is what I call the opportunity keywords. It's a process, a very scientific process of how you can actually find these keywords. You don't just come up with them, right? And then once you have that target keyword, there's also a process on, okay, what are some of the questions that people are actually looking to get answers from? And that is what I call the user intent. So you just Google that keyword and Google and just analyze the top 10 search results. And you can easily see, okay, if somebody's looking for example, how do I water my plants? They're looking for a blog post that explains that. Or for example, if somebody's looking for what are the best gardening tools, they're looking for a listicle, right? Or if somebody's like gardening hose or whatever, and they're looking to purchase it, they don't want to read about it, right? So they're depending on the user intent. Once you have a prioritized list of keywords, you create a corresponding web page on your website, which could be either a landing page or a blog post or a template page, regardless of depending on basically that user intent. And then you do all of that, you put it on your website, you create these pieces of content, and it's going to be crickets because there's likely millions of other websites still, even if they're underserved, competing for the same keyword. And that's sort of where promotion and response really comes into play.
Right on. Okay, well, we can get more into that in your guest solo, but let me hear a little bit about your band as well. Like, so, who do you have around you in your team and how do you find them?
So we are a software company. So the basic structure of a company that we have is very different from, say, if you are a coach or if you offer a service. I would say, the advice I'd like to give to business owners that if you're just starting out, don't go hire an agency from the get-go. Try to do it yourself first. Educate yourself first about everything. It's difficult, but you're never going to be an expert in it. But having a basic understanding of the task you want to delegate helps you set better expectations from the people you're hiring. So, but obviously, as a software company, there's a lot more moving pieces, right? So you're building a product, so you need a lot of technical people, et cetera. So keeping that headcount to a minimum and then starting out doing everything yourself up until the point that it gets very hard to scale. And then you start either automating or delegating. And that's one advice I like to leave people with.
Yeah, that's amazing. Couldn't say it any better. Yeah. I mean, I think people do get bogged down because, they're like, oh, I just don't know anything about that. I'm just going to hire somebody to do it. But you're right that having that basic understanding, you don't need to know how to do everything, but having a basic understanding will help you to guide the people in the right direction. And it'll also help you to know whether the person's not doing their job right as well.
That's right.
I mean, you could waste a lot of time and money on somebody who's not doing what they should be doing if you don't have any idea what's going on in that area.
Exactly.
Right. Now, okay, so it's time for your guest solo. So tell me what's exciting in your business.
Sure. So as I mentioned, Tim, when you go ahead and do all the research and put together content and build the right site structure, and by the way, I don't like to deter a lot of people. SEO is a lot of work, but I haven't found in my career in marketing a better channel for acquiring customers if your customers are actively aware of the problem they're trying to solve and they're searching for it, right? So that means that if you're a life coach, and that actually is not a very good example. But if you, for example, sell a very expensive medical device that only certain hospitals use, it's probably a waste of time for you to focus on SEO because your customers aren't actively searching, right? But if you sell, for example, either a commerce product or a software company, or if you have an affiliate website, et cetera, it doesn't matter what it is, but what you want to do is to put yourself, shoes of your customer, and understand, hey, are these guys actively Googling to come across potentially a product service? If the answer to that is yes, then it means that it's almost idiotic not to invest in SEO, because that's where your customers are hanging out. So cost of advertising is a 5x over the past few years, and it's continuing to grow. So, and also it's a very hard to scale channel, because when you double the budget, doesn't mean you get double the conversions. So it's diminishing ROI. And cold outreach for sales, going door to door, only works with certain products that are super expensive, because otherwise it wouldn't make any sense to hire salespeople or spend your time. So if you have a reasonably priced product that people are actively searching for online, then you got to invest in SEO. And probably most people are listening to this podcast that they're on that shoot. And what you want to do is start with the right site structure, and explain kind of step by step how you can do so through that ebook and the Visme marketing strategy. But the problem that a lot of people face, that once they hit that point and they put these content pieces out there, is exactly what happened to us, is that it's going to be completely crickets. Nobody's going to come and find you magically. And that's sort of where the idea of backlinks come into play. So as I mentioned, we spend 20% of our resources in content creation, and the other 80% goes into promotion. And if you don't have resources for it, just produce less frequent content and allocate your resources in the same way. It doesn't matter how much resources you have, whether you're a one-person show or you have a team of people. And the matter of fact is, for link building, obviously we only have 2 minutes. I can't discuss exactly how things come in and to play, but we have an average strategy guide on the Respona website. So if you navigate to respona.com, respona.com, at the very bottom of the page, we give you ready-to-use recipes and templates that you can use. So now, once you build these right pieces of content and landing pages, how are we going to actually get backlinks into your website to now get them on the search results?
Man, that was really, really well put. Yeah, because I think that's the key, is that when people are on Google looking for something, if they're looking for you, then SEO makes sense for you. But if they're not, like if you're out there trying to create a market, then SEO is probably not going to be for you, because they don't even know what they're looking for yet, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, absolutely. And also you have to consider that not all keywords are necessarily directly talking about your product, but anything that's relevant. Like, for example, we're in the SEO game. So if somebody's looking for, hey, how do I get organic traffic to my website? So they're not necessarily directly thinking about content promotion or link building, but they're relevant terms to our business. And that if somebody's trying to get organic traffic to our website, there is no surprise that they need to have a promotion strategy and outreach strategy in place. So then Respona would be a nice fit. So now let's start. So that's at the very early stage, where now let's start actually getting these people into the website and then nurture them down to become potentially a customer down the line.
Love it. Thank you so much, Farzad, for rocking out with me today. This has been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on the show, Tim.
Cool. And to the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment. We'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar podcast.